You're too soft. Send your daughter to a behavioral boarding school or we're done, my fiancé said. So I canceled the wedding and watched his world fall apart. My name's Maggie. I'm 36, live just outside Seattle, and work as a family therapist at a private clinic. Which is ironic, really. 2 degrees in psychology, and I almost married a guy I'd warn any client to stay the hell away from. I have a daughter, Abby. She's 13 with a personality like April weather. Warm sunshine 1 minute, emotional tornado the next. She's smart, sensitive, stubborn in that teenage way, and still sleeps in one of her dad's old t-shirts. Her dad, my husband, died in a car accident 3 years ago. Just a normal morning. He kissed my cheek, poured coffee into his favorite chipped mug, the one I tried to throw out a dozen times, and said, "If I get out early, I'll pick up wings." We were planning a casual dinner on the porch. Just because. Abby wanted to make lemonade. He never made it to work. 2 officers showed up around noon. They had that rehearsed "we're sorry for your loss" tone. Wrong place, wrong time. Head-on collision with a truck. Instant. No one could have done anything. It was like someone flipped a switch and everything went dark. We'd been together 15 years. He knew how I took my coffee and when silence meant leave me alone. Or sit here with me. He wrote down Abby's funny quotes in a little notebook and read them to her on her birthday. He was home. And when he died, it was like the walls stayed up, but the soul of everything was gone. Just this awful buzzing silence. Abby was 10. And she didn't just lose her dad. She lost her grounding. She changed. Got quieter. Like she thought making noise might shatter whatever was left. At the funeral she didn't cry. She held my hand so tightly it left nail marks, and stared at one spot like blinking might break her. Since then it's just been the 2 of us. No big drama, no heroic struggle, we just lived. I made decent money, we had a normal house, 2 cats. Abby's a good kid. Not perfect, thank God. But good. A little prickly. Sometimes moody. But I get it. She lost her dad before she even knew how to talk about feelings. Now, with middle school chaos and hormones on overdrive, she's doing the best she can. We talk a lot. Sometimes we argue. But we have a rule. No day ends without an "I love you." Even if it's muttered. Even if it's through gritted teeth. We say it. And just when I thought, okay, this is our life now, Rob showed up. We met at a friend's birthday party. He was funny, charming, told stories about his dog. Not flashy. Not trying too hard. Just a grown man with a divorce behind him and this quiet tiredness in his eyes I instantly recognized. By date 3 we were grocery shopping together. By date 5 he met Abby. I warned him she hates surprises. We found her reading on a bench at the park. Rob sat beside her, handed her a frappuccino, I told him her order, and said, "If you want, I can just sit here and be quiet. I'm pretty good at that." She looked at him. Then at me. Then back at him. "Okay," she said. Progress. He didn't push. He wasn't trying to be super stepdad. He just showed up with pizza or ice cream or a board game. Then came the soft suggestions. "Think Abby might want to come with us to the zoo? I've got an extra ticket to the planetarium. Maybe she's into that?" Sometimes she said yes. She didn't call him Rob until week 6. Before that it was that guy or just him. But one day getting out of the car she said, "Thanks, Rob." I almost cried. 6 months in we did a trip to Yellowstone. The 3 of us. We almost got lost. Abby cut her finger. Rob nearly flipped the kayak. It wasn't picture perfect, but it was real. I remember him holding my hand while Abby fed a deer and whispering, "I love you. Both of you." A few months later he proposed. No drama. Just dinner, candles, a ring in his jacket pocket. I said yes. And that, friends, is where the train started quietly derailing. Not that I knew it at the time. Back then I was happy. Abby wasn't thrilled. But I remember her saying, "If he makes you happy, Mom, then I'm happy too." I wore that like a badge of honor. Thought we'd made it through the hardest part. Spoiler, we hadn't. Because if someone sees your kid as an inconvenience instead of a part of the family, you're not building a future. You're sitting on a landmine. After we got engaged, everything felt like it was straight out of a Pinterest board. Rob took over most of the wedding planning. "You carry so much already, let me handle this," he said. At first I rolled my eyes. "What do you mean I don't get a say in the flower arrangements?" But then, I relaxed. And honestly, it was kind of nice. He coordinated with the planner, picked out the venue with my input, but no pressure, sent over menus and even made a Google Doc called So Maggie Doesn't Lose Her Mind. He seemed perfect, reliable, warm. Even Abby seemed to be warming up to him. No big celebrations or anything, but she'd make jokes about the dress, tease me about the raspberry cake. If there's raspberry, I might not run out mid-ceremony. We laughed. I took that as a good sign. I really thought she was learning to accept him in her own way. Then Rob said, "You don't mind if my mom comes out for the weekend? Just to get to know you two better." I didn't mind. His mom, Linda, lived out in Ohio. A retired civics teacher, widow, and someone I'd emailed with a few times before. Rob told me they used to have a rocky relationship, but things are better now. She showed up with a suitcase and an apple pie. Mid-60s, sharp as a pin. Earrings matching her scarf, peach lipstick, and that kind of overstyled hair you only see in high school yearbooks from the late 90s. One look and I knew this woman had opinions. On everything. "I've handled more difficult kids than your Abby," she announced 10 minutes in. Abby had answered the door, wiping her hands on her pajama pants, one sock on, one foot bare. "Hi," she muttered and disappeared into her room. Linda watched her go and said, "Independent. Though a little structure never hurts girls that age." And that was just the opening act. That first evening was mostly civil. Almost. Linda helped in the kitchen while narrating everything I did like it was a cooking show. Bell peppers and salad? Interesting choice. They tend to overpower the base flavors. But maybe Rob likes that. I had no idea Rob had a bell pepper policy. Then she casually suggested an online course for moms who take on too much. Said it with a smile. So caring. I thanked her and went outside for air. By 8 a.m. the next morning, she was digging through the kitchen cabinets like she was doing an inspection. No knocking. No asking. Just poking around. "Everything's very simple here. But it has charm." She nodded like she'd given us a C+ with optional makeup work. Abby slept in that Sunday, later than usual. Linda met her in the hallway like a hall monitor. "We have clocks in this house, sweetheart. It's well past time to be up." I stepped in calm. "We do weekends at our own pace." "Of course," she said. "But kids need routine. I have experience." Then Rob walked in, kissed me on the cheek and added, "Mom's got a point. Abby's been going to bed kinda late, hasn't she?" And I froze. Where was this coming from? Later, when Abby forgot to bring her dish to the sink, Linda marched into her room without knocking, and from the kitchen I heard, "In this house we clean up after ourselves. You can still fix that." Abby came out, silent, face like she was headed to the principal's office. She set her plate in the sink and left. I turned to Linda. "We usually knock." She smiled sweetly. "Of course. But it's healthy for children to know adults have access. This is a home, not a fortress." "Oh, and have you seen her room? A little discipline goes a long way." I smiled, nodded, and mentally boarded up every metaphorical door in my house. And it only got worse from there. Abby eating on the couch? Ladies eat at the table. Wearing headphones? Do you all not speak to each other in this house? Nothing she said was outright rude, but every comment hit like a scalpel wrapped in a hug. On the third day, Rob said, "Mom's kind of lonely in Ohio. What if she stayed another week?" I said sure, because apparently I'm polite to a fault. But deep down, it felt like someone had unpacked their luggage straight into my soul. Things got tense. Rob started echoing his mom more and more. And I found myself apologizing for my own daughter more and more. Abby stayed quiet. But when Linda said, in front of Rob, at her age she should have basic self-discipline. If not, Abby replied, calm as ever, "I do. I just don't think home should feel like a military base." Linda didn't even look at her. When adults are speaking, children don't interrupt. Go to your room. Abby left. Quiet. But I saw her jaw tremble. And then I heard the click of her bedroom door locking. Later, while we were doing dishes, Linda said, "She's free-spirited. Is that a bad thing? Sometimes freedom is just anxiety. What she needs are clear boundaries." I said something like, "Thanks, I'll think about it." But in my head, I was already counting down the days until Linda packed that apple pie and went home. Tuesday afternoon. Linda barged into Abby's room again. No knock, no warning, and came out looking like she just discovered biohazard materials under the bed. I checked in on her. She announced like it was her legal duty. That's not creative mess, that's chaos. Girls need to learn to manage their space. I'll go tell her to clean up. I tried to stop her. Linda, I usually. Oh please. At her age this is completely normal. It's nothing new for me. And off she went, back into Abby's room like a one-woman health inspection team. I heard her say in that clipped middle school teacher tone, "We're cleaning this up. Now." Dust, clothes on the chair, mugs by the window, all unacceptable. I'll be back in 30 minutes. I watched Abby clench her fists. She looked at Linda, calm but icy, and said. Linda whipped around to me, scandalized. Did you hear that? That tone? You seriously need to address this. She's crossing a line. Rob walked in, barely looked up from his phone. Yeah, Mom's got a point. She's acting out. I didn't say anything. But inside something started to break. Later that same day, Linda accidentally peeked into my closet. I caught her in the act when I walked by our bedroom. I was just looking for a hanger, she said, all casual. You know, you've got summer dresses mixed in with winter coats. That can get overwhelming. I could show you how to organize it better if you want. It's really easy. I did not want. That night she offered to send me a webinar link. Modern homemaking. Maximum efficiency, minimal effort. She smiled like she was doing me a favor and added, You work so hard, Maggie. This might help. And I'm sure Rob would love coming home to a more structured space. The way she said structured felt like a dig. Like she was too polite to say disaster. By Thursday she'd really hit her stride. Came back from the store, dropped a bag on the counter and said, I got Abby a dress. Sweet, modest. I think it'll suit her. It looked like a prop from a 1999 church play. High collar. Long sleeves. Floral print in the color of sadness. I thanked her out of sheer reflex. At breakfast she asked Abby, Did you try on the dress? No. It's not really my style. I put effort into picking it out. I just want you to look presentable. I do look presentable, Abby said. I just don't dress to match someone else's opinion. Linda inhaled sharply through her teeth. Glanced at me like I'd failed some critical parental exam. A girl her age needs to understand boundaries, Maggie. And I'm starting to think she really doesn't know the line between freedom and disrespect. Friday rolled around. Abby got invited over to her friend's house. Nothing new, we'd already talked about it. I knew the parents. She packed a small bag, and when she walked into the hallway, Linda raised an eyebrow. On a Friday? Wouldn't it be better to spend time with your family? Rob didn't even look up from his phone. Yeah, weird timing. Timing? She wasn't heading to Cancun, she was going to eat boxed mac and cheese with Amy. I started questioning my own grip on reality. Everything I used to think was normal suddenly got recast as proof that I was an incompetent mom. That night, I gently asked Rob if he thought his mom was maybe overstepping. She's just trying to help, he said. And maybe she's not wrong. Boundaries are healthy. I wanted to scream that boundaries are for picture frames, not for grieving 12-year-old girls. But instead I just nodded and went to bed. Alone. Rob stayed in the kitchen with Linda. I heard her whispering something, and then his laugh. The next day Rob sat me down. I found this amazing program for teens, he said. It's a behavioral school in Vermont. They've got counselors, structure, lots of outdoor activities. It's not a punishment. It's support. I stood there holding a teapot and didn't say a word. So he kept going. I think it could really help Abby. A change of scenery, some discipline, a fresh perspective. You've said yourself she's been struggling since her dad passed. He looked at me so earnestly, like he was offering a solution he'd truly thought through. A kindness. I looked back at him and felt the floor drop out from under me. You're seriously suggesting sending my daughter to boarding school? I want this to work. You and me. But we all need to be aligned. And right now we're not. I wanted to ask him if he'd ever really listened to her. If he knew what her laugh sounded like when she wasn't forcing it. If he'd ever heard her crying in her room at night when she thought I was asleep. But I said none of it. All I said was, don't show me those links again. He nodded. I just want what's best. For all of us. That night I went to shut off the light in the office. His laptop was still open. The screen. A bright, chirpy website. Character-building behavioral boarding schools for girls ages 12 to 15. I closed the lid. Gently. And for the first time I understood something very clearly. If I stayed silent, I wasn't just going to lose my daughter. I was going to lose myself. After that whole boarding school in Vermont conversation, I barely slept. Rob lay next to me, breathing like everything was fine. Like he hadn't just casually suggested getting rid of my daughter under the guise of what's best for her. I stared at the ceiling, trying to process that he actually said that. That he meant it. That he saw Abby as a problem. Or a task. Or maybe furniture, something you could just move out of the way. That's when it finally hit me. I didn't recognize the man I was about to marry. And maybe it was time I admitted that. Ever since Linda showed up, Rob had been different. Not all at once. It was gradual. Before, he'd gently stand up for me if Linda got a little too snippy. Lately, nothing. Silence. He used to peek into Abby's room at night, crack a joke, ask her about her day. Now, he just walked past her door and shut his own behind him. One night I asked him, "Is everything okay?" "Yeah, just tense. It feels like walking on eggshells in here." Eggshells. That's what he called our home. Because of Linda? Well, not just that. I knew blending families would be tough. I just didn't expect it to feel like this. He wasn't angry. He was tired. And honestly, that was worse. Exhaustion doesn't argue. Just gives up. The next morning it was quiet. Too quiet. At breakfast, Linda arched her brows like a sitcom villain. "You two had a tough talk last night?" I heard the door slam. I nodded. No details. But Linda never needed an invitation. I'm not trying to interfere, but building a family takes hard choices. Motherhood isn't about being popular. Sometimes you have to be strict. I set my knife down. Calmly. "Linda, I heard you in Abby's room last night. You were going through her closet. That's not okay." She gave this little smirk. "Oh, I was just tidying up. Her stuff was a mess. Kids need clear boundaries." That word again. Boundaries. Abby had shut down. After school, straight to her room. Headphones in the second she heard anyone in the hallway. I'd knock, ask how she was. Always the same. Fine. And it was obviously not fine. Then Linda announced we were having a family dinner to say goodbye. She was finally leaving the next day. She bought a frozen lasagna, set a tablecloth, dimmed the lights like we were on a cruise ship. "I think we've all been a little tense. We need to bring some warmth back into this house," she said as we sat down. Abby was stone silent. I watched her hands in her lap. She was trying so hard not to walk out. "Abby, sweetheart," Linda cooed. "I think it might be time to adjust your bedtime. Staying up late at your age isn't good for your brain. Maybe 9 p.m.? It helps build discipline." Abby looked at her, then at me, and said quietly, "That's not your business." "Abby," Rob snapped. "You don't talk to adults like that." "Why not? She goes through my stuff, my room, my life. Why am I supposed to be polite about it?" "Because you're a child. And right now you're being disrespectful." Linda sighed like a disappointed camp counselor. "Exactly. A young girl needs structure. And sometimes, love means not letting them be rude." I clenched my jaw so hard I saw stars. "She's leaving tomorrow," I reminded myself. "She's leaving tomorrow." "It's okay, honey," I smiled at Abby. "We'll figure this out." The next morning Linda finally left. But things didn't magically get better. In fact, it was like she never really left, she just moved into Rob's vocabulary. Structure. Respect. Boundaries. He started parroting her exact tone. I felt like I was living with a bootleg version of his mother. Then one night he said something I'll never forget. "You have to admit Abby's getting challenging. Teenage years, I know. But you let her do anything. Sometimes I wonder if you're her mom, or just her friend." It hit like a slap. "I'm a mom," I said quietly. "A mom who lost her husband. And I'm just trying not to lose my daughter too." He didn't answer. He just walked off to the shower like I hadn't said a word. The next day it finally snapped. Dinner. Just the three of us. Abby put some chicken and ketchup on her plate. Rob wrinkled his nose. You're really going to eat that? Do you even care what you put in your body? Abby, calm as ever, said. I run more in the morning than you two walk all week. Ketchup isn't poison. I was about to step in, try to ease the tension when he snapped. Don't talk back. When adults speak, you listen. Don't yap at me like some little dog. He actually said that. Yap. Abby stood up and walked away. No yelling. No slamming. Just gone. That was too much, I said quietly. It was the truth, he replied. If you'd set some boundaries, I wouldn't have to. That night I didn't sleep. Again. Just lay there staring at the ceiling, wondering how the hell we ended up here. The man who used to memorize how I take my tea and bring me gummy bears after long shifts was now lecturing me on parenting with the expression of someone grading a failing student. And I was officially failing. According to him. According to Linda. According to everyone except the only person that mattered. Abby. A couple days later, he brought up the school again. We were sitting on the porch. He was scrolling through his phone, then set it down with a sigh. The kind of sigh that comes right before something awful. I've been thinking a lot, he said. Didn't even sleep last night. But we can't go on like this. I didn't say anything. She's getting mean, Maggie. Every time we talk to her, it's either silence or I don't care. That's not normal. She's going through stuff. She's smart. She just feels like no one's listening. No. He shook his head. You just don't want to see what's going on. She's shutting down, pushing back. It's affecting everyone. I don't want to hurt her. But I also can't keep living in a house that feels like an emotional interrogation every night. We can't build a future like this. He wasn't looking at me like someone who wanted to build a life together. He looked like a man trying to win an argument with a coworker. So what are you suggesting? I asked, even though I already knew. Have you thought more about the school? I have. I'm against it. He shrugged. Shrugged. Like we were negotiating a lease and I wasn't agreeing to the terms. They've got great programs, Maggie. Private. Structured. Sports therapy, top academics. I found one in New Hampshire, rave reviews. I said no. I didn't bother hiding the edge in my voice. Drop it. But he didn't. It's not forever. A year, maybe two. She'll build some resilience, some discipline. And we could finally breathe. No more walking on eggshells. I just stared at him. This was the man I thought I was building a life with? And he still didn't get that I'd already made up my mind. It's not punishment, he went on. It's love. I know it's hard to hear, but love means making tough calls. No, Rob, I said calmly. Love means staying. When it's hard. Not boxing up your kid and sending her off because it's inconvenient for you. He looked away. Then back at me. But you see how she acts like a girl whose dad died. Who's growing up. Who doesn't have to impress you or your mother. You always defend her. Even when she's wrong. That's not parenting, Maggie. That's weakness. No, I said, standing up. That's love. You know what's weakness? Hiding behind someone else's opinions and calling it concern. He stood too. If you can't see what I'm saying, maybe you're not ready for a new family. No, Rob. You're not ready to be part of mine. Because my daughter isn't a burden. She's not a mistake. She's not some issue to fix. She's my family. So you're choosing her? Of course I am. And the fact that you even asked that tells me everything. He didn't argue. Just nodded. Quiet. Cold. Then he walked inside. Packed a bag. 30 minutes later he was gone. I walked down the hall to Abby's room. She was sitting on the floor in her hoodie, headphones in, nose in a book. I sat down next to her, pulled her close. He's gone, I said. For good. Yeah. She nodded. And for the first time in weeks just leaned into me. No walls. No silence. Just warmth. Thanks, Mom, she whispered. And for the first time in a long, long time I could finally breathe again. The first couple of days I just washed dishes and stared out the window. Abby would sit next to me sometimes, and I'd run my fingers through her hair. We didn't talk much, but we were quiet together. At peace. And then it started. Rob showed up. No call, just appeared with flowers and that classic, I finally get it look on his face. Can I come in? No. Maggie, I miss you. I was under pressure. My mom was in my ear, everything was a mess. I know I crossed a line, but I want to fix things. You wanted to send my daughter to boarding school because your mommy didn't like her. Then you tried to talk me out of my own decision like I was too dumb to mean it. You didn't just cross a line, Rob. You showed me exactly who you are. He shifted on his feet. Uncomfortable. I'm not a monster. I just wanted us to get along. No. You wanted us to fall in line. That's not the same thing. He left. No drama, no yelling. But his face said, you'll regret this. The next day Linda called. You're throwing away a future, Maggie. For a girl who'll be gone in a few years and probably forget you. And my Rob? He's smart, he's solid. You could have had a real man by your side. Stone walls are solid too, Linda. Doesn't make them not a prison. And I'm done being locked in. Well then live however you want. She snapped and hung up. A few days later Rob sent a letter. Very polite. Please return the restaurant deposit. Also the gifts, especially the Tiffany bracelet. It was a symbol of our family, not of your indifference. I snorted. I packed the earrings, the bracelet, and that stupid sign book. Forever yours, Rob. And mailed them back. No note. The restaurant money? I wired it. Not for him. For me. To close the chapter. And then came the rotten cherry on this dumpster fire of a cake. I got a letter from the IRS. Asking me to verify who Abby's legal guardian was, and who she lived with at the time of filing. I had no clue what it was about. I called them. A very polite woman explained that a second adult, Robert H. Mercer, had claimed Abby as a dependent on his tax return to receive a deduction. I just froze. He's not her father. Not her guardian. We're not even married. That's why we're checking. His return is being reviewed. Thank you for the clarification. I hung up and felt the rage boil up from my chest. He tried to claim my daughter. For money. Without my consent. Without her even knowing. Just to save himself a few $1,000s. That's not just greedy. That's fraud. It's a lie. And yes, it's illegal. I found out later he'd been let go. Turns out the IRS flagged his company during the review. And when you work for a major law firm, where trust is everything, you don't need a conviction. Loss of integrity is all it takes. Career. Gone. He moved back in with Linda. She tells people she's depressed because of that woman and her brat who ruined everything. And in town, he's not successful Rob anymore. He's that guy who tried to cash in on someone else's kid. Abby asked me once, is he okay? I said, I don't know. And I don't care. We were flipping pancakes that day. Burned half the batch, added too much salt. Sat on the kitchen floor laughing till our sides hurt. We've got a home. Small but warm. We've got each other. I chose my daughter. I chose myself. And I don't regret a single second. As for Rob's perfect world, it didn't fall apart because of me. It was rotting from the inside all along. I know I made the right choice for me and for my daughter. But maybe you see it differently? Let me know in the comments, what would you have done in my place? And if this story hit home, go ahead and subscribe. There's a lot more where that came from.